Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us as Steve and I talk to Joe Hall, our buddy from Hall Analysis, who has uh, authored a really cool keyword tool that's kind of setting the world on fire. It's called Term Suggest, and it can be seen on that URL, termsuggest.com. Joe has been kind enough to join us today and talk to us a little bit about it. Joe, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Doc, and thank you for being optimistic about. Yeah, I don't really know if it's catching the world on fire, but that is the hope that it will one day blaze the world. And so, yeah, I really appreciate having the ability to come here and talk to you guys about termsuggest.com and what my plans are for that, and maybe a little bit about how I put it together and stuff. I really appreciate being here.
Awesome. So, well, let's go reverse order from that then. What made you decide to go ahead and create a new research tool like this?
Well, this has been honestly. I wish I could sit here and say that this was something that I needed or wanted. I don't do a whole lot of content development work, um, but I have been familiar with the Suggest API for quite a while. A little bit of technical backstory. The tool primarily runs off of one API through Google. And so if you go to Google and you type in like a term into one of the query search boxes, you'll get like a drop down box of suggested terms. Um, and the API that powers that list of suggested terms is what is powering my tool. And so, there's been other tools, similar tools of the same kind that I believe use that same API. Um, but I've always kind of enjoyed that tool or that API. I've enjoyed kind of playing with it on my own in the browser, and I've noticed that some of the other tools that are out there that kind of do the same thing or use the same API, they're not as, in my opinion, your user experience and the user interface is not very intuitive. Someone that is going to be using this for actual like content marketing purposes or content ideation. A lot of the tools that are out there that use this API seem to um, it either goes one of two ways. The user experience is very visual, which makes for a very dazzling display of terms on the screen. But you can't really use it. You can't really export it very easily, and it's sometimes difficult even to read the way they have it kind of displayed. Um, and so that to me that was not really helpful. And then the other kind of path that a lot of other people go with this API is to combine it with other APIs to make uh, sort of a competitor to some of the big keyword research tools out there. And so, and in those instances, the user interface is more intuitive, but because the other APIs that they utilize require a certain amount of investment, um, they usually have to be kind of commercial with those tools. They either have to charge for them out the gate or rate limit the user's ability to use the tool. You get like maybe 5 uses a day or something, and then you pay for it or something like that. I wanted to find sort of a middle ground where the tool was intuitive for the user to use, but then also uh, didn't require a financial investment and didn't require that people sign up for a paid subscription. I want to find somewhere in the middle ground there, make it free and also make it easy to use. Now, the downside of that, obviously, is that because it's free, it doesn't include a lot of the metrics that a lot of people expect out of keyword tools, things like search volume and CPC and stuff like that. But the idea basically is that the tool essentially is there to help content marketers develop ideas for content marketing and develop different variations of subject matter or terms that they can incorporate into a content strategy. So it's not about like picking the best keyword to go after or competitive keywords or whatever. It's moreover about like we know we need to write more about this one topic, but what exactly can we write about in that topic area? You know, so that's kind of more of the angle that I'm going with it. But yeah,
Very cool. See, and I've always found the search volume and CPC numbers to be mostly useless anyway.
Mhm.
You know, they've never really struck me as either entirely accurate or useful, especially the CPC numbers because it varies so wildly based on location and stuff like that. But as a content tool, I've really started using it a lot more than anything else because it's quick. It gives me what I need in a way that it's easy to pull into a spreadsheet and start moving stuff around. Uh, I know I had emailed you once before. I'm in the process of getting a list of every single city in the United States so I can make that a negative against the keywords because a lot of suggested keywords have locations attached to them. Don't always want to do that.
yeah,
So that's going to be my next effort on my end for what I use it for.
yeah, definitely. That is something that and that's actually localization and language settings have been the top requested features for the next version of Term Suggest. And the API actually already has a language feature included in it. So that should not be difficult to include other requests on the API for a different language. The location, I think, is a little bit more difficult. I don't think they include that, but I'm wondering if I haven't tested this yet, but I'm wondering if we can essentially uh, include one of the search operators. You know, there's a couple search operators for location like near a colon, and then have a city name or something like that. That might be an option, but I'm not so sure how that would work out. But I know we can absolutely do the language aspect of it, and I kind of actually, to be honest, I kind of purposely excluded language in the first version, because I didn't want to make it too complicated. Because if you um, everything passes through different layers of scripting for the code to work. So it first goes through the query first goes through uh, the jQuery through some Ajax to some PHP, and then the PHP sends it to the API, and it goes back to PHP, and then back through jQuery to show the results. And all of that's not a problem, but when you get into different character sets outside of the Roman alphabet, it can screw up in different areas.
Yeah, that could be a massive.
Yeah, and so I kind of wanted to stay away from having to do that. When I get into projects like this, I get really enthusiastic and I get really excited. But I do have to remind myself sometimes that I'm not going to make like any profit off of this project. Like nobody's paying me to do this, and I'm not really making a ton of money off of doing it. So I don't want to really invest super amounts of time into figuring out all the language codes and all that stuff. But eventually, I think we can do language. I think it's just going to take a little more time to get in there.
Very cool.
Okay, I'm a little bit of a luddite in your world, Joe. The coding and stuff is not my forte. I'm assuming that because you're working off an API, that's giving you a very light loading on your server. That
Yeah,
accurate?
it is. when I first launched the tool, I did run into a little bit of an issue with some load issues. But my servers run um several different caching layers. So I have Memcache installed. And Memcache is great because it will actually cache API requests as well. So if we have, like for example, because of the soup that all three of us swim in, a lot of the users that first utilized it, they ran the query SEO as a test, right, to see what kind of results came back.
Sure.
And so I set the Memcache for that API call pretty high because like that's going to keep getting run, So there are some queries I think that are more popular that have been run through the tool that come back really quickly because they've been cached already on our server. So that's helpful. And I also boosted. I added more memory to the server and an additional quad processor as well. But the caching thing was the thing that really helped overall, like because it really just it limited the amount of API calls we have to make and the amount of processing we have to do on the server side for those APIs. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, I would just, because my first thought when I saw you initially post about this beta was, good Lord, how many buildings does Joe have full of servers? Because just those of us in your sphere of influence could bring one to its knees.
Yeah.
But I got
So
thinking about, okay, using an API that's not going to be quite as bad, but still,
yeah.
I hadn't thought about the fact that you're going to get 100 of your friends immediately start doing a tag search on SEO.
Yeah. So I actually so I guess I don't want to get too far into the promotional area, but one of the other things I do outside of SEO is I do own a small web hosting company. And my servers run through a data center down in Tampa. And they're awesome. And they are the kind of company that can scale me up really quickly. If I need to be scaled up really fast, they can do that. Um, and I have a good relationship with them where, because I have not just this tool, but I have a handful of WordPress sites on there. That's the type of hosting company I run, is a managed WordPress hosting company. And so, I've got a pretty good relationship with them, and they are really good about kind of maintaining things and supplementing any of my server or processing needs, fairly quickly. So that's been good, you know. Yeah.
Very cool. Here we go. My brain's going to fade on me again. I warned everybody. Right now, you just scaled up your server, and I mean, where do you think this is going to head as far as volumes and things like that? Do you think it's going to be? I mean, I'm always curious about business growth on the side of things because that's where my focus has always fallen.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see more people use it. Um, I I think we have it looks like based on the analytics that there is sort of a core group of people that are returning to the site to utilize it. Of course, every time you launch a product, you do see that boost in the very beginning, and then it kind of quickly dies off, and then you do kind of level out with like a core group of people that utilize it. I'd like to see it grow more, obviously, but the initial objective for this whole thing was really just to see if I could build it and see if it would be something that people liked. There is no, product attached to it. There's no, monthly product or anything like that. So it's not like I'm trying to make money off of it. I kind of would like to see using it more to promote my business a little bit more, my SEO consulting business. But even that's kind of like an iffy thing because I only do technical SEO. I don't even do content stuff.
Right.
So if people are coming there for content issues, then I'm the wrong guy to talk to about that. So I tell you though, I did send it off to I work with a couple agencies as partners. I do a lot of technical SEO for a couple agencies, and I did send it off to them because they're big content people, and they really liked it. So if it can help build more relationships for my current consulting business, that would be awesome. But at the end of the day, I'm not really too focused on the business aspects of it. It was something I enjoyed doing, building and seeing what kind of reaction I get out of it.
I think a lot of us have those types of projects where it's like,
Yep.
this is something I'm interested in doing, and since I've done it, let's go ahead and throw the doors open and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on there right now. I've been kind of poking while we've been talking, and I'm impressed. I really am. I think it's a very cool tool that from a pure content like doc side of the fence is a great tool for that type of research, because we see this all the time. It's like, well, where do I do my keyword research? And people are like, oh, we go to Ahrefs. It's like, well, yeah, I've got an extra $500 a month laying around for that.
Yeah.
And when you really only need, what you're doing, which is awesome.
I think it's a good point to inject something else too. This is not, aside from the fact that this was an experiment that you wanted to play with because it interested you. This isn't the first free tool you've offered either. I've used your JSON LD generator a lot. I love it, and your learning center is worth exploring.
Thank you. So yeah, I do a lot of free tools and free courses. I'll be honest with you though, I feel like this is kind of like I'm just thinking about something. I have some stuff behind the camera here on the wall that reminds me of things I've done in the past, and I'm always I feel like I'm always spoiled by the projects that go well, you know, because and it's not always a good thing because like take the JSON LD tool for example, that was incredibly popular when I first launched it, and it brought in a ton of traffic. It still brings in a ton of traffic. It brought in a ton of backlinks, and it was incredibly popular. And I feel like I'm so grateful for that, but also I feel like those types of things that go well sometimes distort your vision of reality, because then you think, well, God, all I gotta do is get 2,000 more people to the site each month is build another tool, and so then I go off and build another tool and I don't get the same response, and which is fine because that's just how this works. That's how business, that's how everything else works. But it is sort of one of those things where, and that's a lesson I learned early on because when I first got started in SEO, I built a tool in 2009 called Who's Talking, and it was a social media search tool, and that went viral. That got on Matchable.com. That got on ReadWriteRev. NPR covered it. It was mentioned in a manual for Homeland Security. It was all over the place. It was a huge deal. And I was just starting out in my SEO career then, and I got this impression that oh my God, all I have to do is just build these things and I can just skyrocket my career.
I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. That's my problem. And so I just thought I would just keep doing that. And I remember the next thing I launched after that, they didn't really get a peep at all. And it was a good lesson though for me to learn that, you know, sometimes you have wins and sometimes you don't. And the wins are far and few between. But if you always try to, if you always like build your expectations around what happened before, then you're probably always going to be dissatisfied, you know. And so you kind of need to always kind of live in this perpetual state of experimentation and with sort of lower expectations. And just hope that you are making something that people enjoy and like, and hoping that that goes somewhere, you know. But that was a business kind of lesson for me that I learned really early on. And I think that that's why I keep building these free tools, like you mentioned, Doc. You know, I've got the JSON LD, I've got a HTML meta tag tool. I would like to build a robots.txt generator. That's my new plan.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of tools like that that I enjoy building for free, and you know, you throw it out there and see what sticks on the wall, you know, and you know, and then reap the benefits of whatever comes back, you know.
Well, like you say, you're going to get a home run for every 60s at bat. So
Exactly. Yeah.
you can't expect it every time, but it
Yeah.
is cool. And I found too, on those rare occasions when my creative juices are flowing,
Well,
I'll get into an idea and I'll start digging it and into it, and I'll find out there's something I never thought of, and I get sidetracked a little bit, and then that's how my first book.
mhm.
I was just doing a short story, and ended up with a book that I ended up having to break in half because it was it was 30,000 words,
Yeah.
and I ended up at 150,000 words. So but it was a success that didn't make me a millionaire, obviously, but it was a total offshoot from the initial idea. And I know, even I've talked to some painters and photographers and artists, musicians as well. I've got a good friend who's a professional musician. He just gets an idea, to try to find a new riff or trying to identify what riff this guitarist used, and all of a sudden he's written a new song.
Yeah.
And it's just you never know. So you got to get in the water, get your feet wet, and see what happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, is there anything else you wanna talk about, Joe, while we're here? Or I mean,
No, I don't think so. I don't really think so. Not right now.
I will say
Um,
I love the beard.
oh,
I,
thank you. This is
I
actually this is actually me being lazy.
mine so I blend in Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
And mine is just to aggravate my wife.
Oh, well, there you go.
Every beard has a goal.
There you go. Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, I really appreciate the work you do. A lot. I appreciate the tools you built. I use a lot of them randomly, and I'm sure a lot of people watching the show are in the same position where I mean there's so much going on in the world, but there's always a handful of people who are always doing really great, cool work, and you're one of those. And we appreciate having you around.
Well, thanks so much, Steve. And I really appreciate being here. And I'm always up for having people say nice things about me and my work. So I really love this. It was great.
Uh,
Maybe one day I'll have a video show of my own where I can invite you guys on and say nice things about you guys. You know, uh, we
that
can
would
we can
be that would be
we
unique.
can compliment. We can sit around and compliment our beards.
It will be a first, I guarantee you.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate this.
Thank you,
Uh,
Joe. Appreciate it.
We thank you for joining us, and I encourage everybody to go to Hall Analysis and check out the footer, go to termsuggest.com and play with that tool a little bit. Joe's Learning Center has got some great stuff in it. His generators, Betatech generator and Jason LD generator are amazing. And I approached tools like that the first time with as a doubting Thomas. I said, "Oh yeah, Jason LD. Well, we all know how easy that is to screw up. Let's see if this thing actually works." I've used it a lot. I have yet to hit a single hiccup in it. It's
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I think there needs to be more to that tool. Maybe we'll do a second version of that one as well. But yeah,
Outstanding.
well.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much,
Joe.
Joe.
I'm gonna close this off and